In the recent podcast with Bryan Yeung, Bryan talks about listening to the shift of sounds from ear to ear when wearing headphones while listening to the tape pressure widget. Let's listen to an excerpt.
Without headphones is very tough, but with headphones, it makes it actually quite a bit easier. One goes through each ear. If you hear one side, let's say significantly greater than the other side, but price is not behaving as such, now you probably have a trade on your hands, right? Assuming that that's at your levels.
So Bryan is referring to a divergence in the sounds he's hearing from the price action. So if we hear sounds on our left, which is the footsteps in the patch that Bryan's shared, then that indicates there should be selling pressure because they are hitting the bids and the cumulative volume delta is shifting negatively. Here's a little example where we're actually seeing the price action move up, but the sound effects are coming out of my left speaker. Typically you'd think, well, that means they're hitting the bids. Price should be moving down. So there is a divergence here. We're also hearing alerts from Bryan's trade sounds patch for 5 and 10 lots. I think this is what Bryan was talking about, where we've heard sounds shift to the left speaker, selling pressure, a divergence with price, and this can be used to help time a trade. We have some size hitting into the bids. And another scenario we talked about in the podcast is things go quiet while the market possibly tries to figure out where it's going. There's the breakout. We can now hear sound effects shift to the buying pressure side as price moves down. And what appears to be a battle playing out. What looks like there's a little breakout from a range. I don't know what the volume profile looks like here, but let's assume there is a step in the profile. Now, what I'd probably want to hear here is some size hitting into the bids. So some of the alerts for 10 lots or more. Heard some size lifting there, but now we're in that quiet campsite scenario. Now we can hear selling in the left speaker. Does feel like a seller's market for the time being. And this could be information you use to help you hold your short position or look for entries on the short side. So I think that is useful to audify the scenario that Bryan talks about in the podcast. If you haven't checked out the podcast episode, there'll be a link in this video. And if you want to see more rough and raw examples commentated like this, please let me know.